Okay, this is my first time seeing the new stages section, because we finally have gear reveals and other things relating to penacony. But I remember what the new relic set roughly looked like from the images we were previewed, and this is where it gets interesting, because this one here looks like it could be for Acheron because it's the same kind of flowers. If it is, then this reveals how her kit functions. So we've got Cavern of Corrosion, Path of the Dream Dive, and we've got Pioneer Diver of the Dead Waters. And it's related to increasing damage dealt to enemies with debuffs by 12%. Really good set. 4-piece though, that's really interesting. Crit rate and crit damage. Most of the characters that are in Nihility utilize DOTs and they cannot crit. So this, being able to be involved with crit, implies that she's something like Welt, where she does not care about applying a DOT that constantly deals damage. Welt's DOT slows enemies. The thing is, her element, which is lightning, would result in shock, which is a DOT. So her focusing on crit rate and crit damage implies that her damage doesn't come from application of shock, meaning it comes from something else. And it also makes a point of how good Black Swan might be for her, because the crit damage increases based on the amount of debuffs. That's kind of nuts. I appreciate this set. This is great. The aforementioned effects increase by 100%, so you can get double it. So you can end up with 8. Is it talking about the 8% crit? Would you get 8% crit rate? Is it just talking about the crit damage section? Because in that case, then you can end up with 6. You can end up with double, which would be here 24 and then here 16. So 16 to 24% crit damage, which is a lot for only the one turn. But one turn's more than enough. If you keep applying debuffs, that's nuts. But what debuff is she applying then? Because I said it's her flower, so it makes sense if this set was for her. Meanwhile, this one is probably the other one. This one here. Which increases break effect by 16%, which implies Aventurine uses break effect. And when the wearer uses their ultimate on an ally, so he buffs somehow, break effect for all allies increases by 30% for 2 turns. Interesting. It makes sense as he's a preservation unit if his ultimate does a shield or something like Jeopard's. So that's logical. Then we've got ice type boss mat here. Okay. So we know the mats that our small little book boy is going to have. What Misha is going to need. And then we've got mats that are for Quantum. So this is for Sparkle. And then we've got a Calyx, which... This still stings, man. Oh, didn't mean for that. This still really hurts. I won't lie. This stings that we now have more mats to farm. So we've got Harmony mats, which is neat. And lots of Nihility, which means I'm going to be farming these constantly. It's interesting. It's got the face of a Komainu almost. What's the name of it? Fiery Spirit, Star, Fire Essence, and Heaven Incinerator. Kind of implies it's tied to the Heliobi. Meanwhile, this one's Firmament. No, I imagine it's tied to the actual Aeon rather than anyone else. May as well zoom in on these a bit, since look how cool that is. You can see it's almost corroding it. I love it. Oh, let's drag across. You can see the black and red corroding. It's like what happened with her outfit, but instead on the outfit it was more so to black and red as well, and then her hair was turning grey. It's interesting the flowers have a corrupting influence. Meanwhile, this is just a rich man's stuff, and you can see the constellations in the blue section there. Really pretty, really neat. Lots of farming. It's a good thing I saved a lot, because I assumed that there was going to be more relics that could be obtained at some point, or more planar ornaments. I was sacrificing a lot of them in order to get the material that makes them, so I can forge 26 of them and hopefully get the stuff I need. And then also farm it on top of it, but I'm going to need this way more. Then we've got destruction. Okay. Skill Gorge Waterscape. Interesting. Borsane. Okay. These are items related to creatures of the abundance. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Calyx Golden. Okay. New synthesis materials. Fair enough. So we've got new forge materials potentially. Successful completion gives more rewards. That's fine. Okay, sweet. This is really helpful. I cannot wait to start getting these though.